So for those of you that don't yet know me personally, I've been doing martial arts for the last 8 years. So I'm 22 years old now. I had my first kickboxing match at age 14. And so today I just wanted to share a few lessons that I've taken from my time as a mixed martial artist and that I think can relate to the business world and that you can use in business. Okay, so I'm just going to run those through. And remember, these are just my opinions and my observations as a student of life. So I hope you enjoy them and I hope you can take a bit of knowledge from them. But once again, we'd love to hear your feedback. Okay, so the first one, the more you do what you're uncomfortable with, the more comfortable it will become. Hard to believe, isn't it? Okay, so I'll give you an example. When I had my first probably 6 or 7 kickboxing matches, every time I'd hop in the ring, it doesn't matter how hard I've been training and how ready I was leading up to the fight, every time I'd hop in the ring, I'd be overwhelmed with nerves. And it would just be a crazy feeling and very, very uncomfortable feeling. Okay, almost throughout the whole fight. So my 8th kickboxing fight, okay, I hopped in there and all of a sudden, as soon as I stepped through the ropes, I just felt this instant feeling of calmness. And since then, it's been like that every fight. So it's just really, really calm, and all of a sudden it became second nature. So I did it, it was uncomfortable, I kept doing it again and again and again, kept facing that fear, that uncomfortableness, and eventually it became comfort and it became a second nature. So I believe that's the same in business. For example, in sales, when you're starting a business and you're going to be doing cold calling, getting on the phone on the cold call when you haven't done it before is very terrifying. When I was 8 years old, my dad mentored me into starting my own lawn mowing business, and I went door to door to each neighbor and promoted myself. So it was terrifying. I'd never done something like that before, and I was really uncomfortable with it. I didn't want to do it. I remember the first time I knocked on the door, it was a rejection. They were nice, but they said no thank you. And I looked at my dad and I said, I don't want to do this anymore. And he taught me another lesson that I'll just chuck in here as a bonus. So the worst thing that can happen is a no, is a rejection. And the more you ask, the closer you're going to get to getting a yes. Anyway, so door knocking and cold calling was something that I was very uncomfortable with. But over the years, the more I did it, obviously now it's very easy for me to do, and I'm very comfortable with it. So that's something you can take from kickboxing. Number 2, adapt a white belt mentality. So I've had the pleasure of training with a lot of high-level athletes and martial artists. When my time in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I've had the pleasure of being tapped out by a lot of black belts, and I spent a lot of time watching them closely and asking them a lot of questions. And the wisest ones have always told me that no matter how high you get in a belt level, you should always have a white belt mentality, which means that you should always be learning and never think that you're any better than anyone else. Never think that you learn enough. So in martial arts and business, same. You can always learn more, no matter how much revenue you produce, no matter how much success you've amassed, there's always enough to learn. So sometimes as a young entrepreneur, I do struggle with ego, but I've learned that the more I keep open mind and the more I put the ego aside and actually realize that I can learn from anyone, it doesn't really matter the level and what they've achieved, the more I succeed really. So adapt a white belt mentality no matter your position. Okay. Last but not least, rather than hoping that things go to plan, sharpen your arsenal so that you can rely on it and have something for every situation. I'll give you an example again. In the ring, you can practice a certain drill before you have your fight. So in the 6 months leading up to a kickboxing fight, you can practice a certain scenario in your head and hope the fight goes that way. But what you'll often find, Mike Tyson has a good quote, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. I think that's how it goes. 100% true. So I've hoped that fights will go a certain way. I've hopped in the ring, they almost never have. What I've learned after a while is instead of hoping that it turns out, it goes a certain scenario that they throw this punch, blah blah blah. Instead, I've just realized that I've got to sharpen my arsenal and have a move that I can pull out no matter what. So, for example, if I hope that in the fight I'm going to be coming forward the whole time and keeping the other person in the corner, that's all good if it goes like that. But if it doesn't and the fighter, my opponent, is more aggressive and is coming forward at me the whole time and gets me in the corner and I haven't been ready for that in my mind, then I'm going to be stuck. Okay, so instead, I draw different situations and have things ready in my arsenal. So for example, if I'm going forward and getting him in the corner, I've got moves and tactics that are ready for that situation. But also if it's reversed and I'm in the corner, I should have moves and drills in my head that are for that situation as well. Hope that makes sense. So how does that translate into business? A lot of sales meetings that I've gone to, a lot of meetings trying to close potential customers. I've hoped that it's gonna. I've assumed that they need something. Okay, and sometimes it does go like that. My solution that I had in mind was exactly what they needed, but sometimes I just needed to actually listen to what they need help with, and then have a respond and a reply and a plan ready for that. Okay, so let's use COVID as an example as well. Another example. COVID happens. You could have had a good plan. A lot of people have been coming into your shop if you have a brick and mortar store, and then lockdown happened and people can't come in. So instead of only making it that your business could operate if people came in and bought, you would have had a website ready and an e-commerce website ready to sell products online. So once again, have an arsenal of things ready. Okay. So once again, guys, I hope this made sense and I hope it was useful and that you took a bit of knowledge from it. And would love to hear your feedback. Hope you have an awesome one.